Hi, it's your host, Sydney. Welcome back to another episode of Metabolism Diaries. Today's guest is Lacey, also known on Instagram and TikTok as Heritage House Homestead. Lacey lives on a farm. Her life is so different than my life here in New York City, and as someone who loves animals, I'm very jealous. We also get into her GLP-1 journey and so much more. So let's get into it. For those who don't follow you, can you tell us a little bit about how you started your TikTok channel?
It was kind of an accident. We were getting ready to move. We've always been really private people, so I've never really put much on social media. And I always told people TikTok was, people spying on you and whatnot, and don't download it. And we were, like I said, getting ready to move. And I custom designed and built our house and self-contracted it myself. And so I wanted a spot where I could kind of go back and just reference videos, not just have them in my phone and get lost on my phone. And then, when I get a new phone, that's in the drawer kind of thing. So I wanted to be able to show my contractors or people the cool stuff I had done because we built a barn dominium in the past. And so I started a TikTok and just started making videos about my barn dominium and some of the cool stuff that we had done there. And it just kept going viral. So I was like, well, maybe I'll just keep making videos and then I'll document we bought the new property and we cleared the land, and I did the same thing with design and self-contracted. And then this time with the barn dominium, I didn't have a 9-to-5 job. I'm self-employed, so I have a DIY studio. You see all the glitter. So I could kind of set my own. And so I just started DIYing a lot of it. I did most of the electrical, I did all the plumbing, and it saved us a ton of money. And so it was kind of my job during the day was to build stuff, and I just started documenting that, and my following grew from there. And I wasn't trying to be a building page or anything like that. I was just documenting my life. And through that journey and being on TikTok, I started on a GLP-1. And so I started documenting about my weight loss. And then I started feeling better. So then I wanted to learn how to do my makeup. And so that's how I got into the beauty space. And then I learned about doing hair, it was just literally my life as I was about to turn 40 and just transitioning into all these different parts of my life. And I just shared it. And I don't know why people follow me. I guess they, relate to the same kind of things. I'm just a girl living in the country, being a farm wife, learning how to live life.
I love it. Well, I love your content because I'm in New York City and it's so different from where I am, the surroundings, that it makes me, I'm I want to live on a farm. And you're also so authentic in it. It's just you being you, and you have such a unique personality. So I definitely understand why people follow. And can you tell us a little bit about the name Heritage House Homestead and how you guys came up with that? And
so
if there's any
Heritage
meaning
House,
behind it?
there is. Usually if I'm at home and I'm recording, you'll see the sign behind me that says Heritage House Restaurant. And my parents had a restaurant when I was growing up, and it was called Heritage House. And so I just thought that would be I just thought that would be a good name. I was sitting there in my kitchen when I started my TikTok, and I was thinking, because I wanted to make a video, and I was like, well, what? So when I went to sign up, it makes you sign your name or pick a name or whatever. And so I was like, what do I want to do? I don't want to have to change it later. And I looked over and I saw that sign on the wall, and I was like, that's perfect. Heritage House.
Done. I love that. And do you grow food on the farm as well?
Just for us. It's not, I give it to my neighbors. My neighbors have chickens and we don't have chickens. And so we'll share. So we call it our co-op, our neighborhood co-op.
That's so fun. Because I go to the farmer's market here in New York, and I feel like I envision you eating very farm to table, if that's a thing. Do you grow a lot of the food that you eat?
Not a ton, because it's really hot here. So our setup we have right now is kind of like a temporary garden. We found a bunch of these concrete water troughs in our in the woods when we bought our place. And so we just repurposed them. We drilled holes in them, and, we were just trying to use kind of what we had. And we always planned on building a bigger garden later. And so actually last weekend we were sitting outside and we're like, all right, let's get this garden thing done. That's going to be our project this year. So it's ready for the spring. So we're getting ready to build a big pad and get all new beds and actually have a really huge garden. Right now we have I think 8 beds, but the concrete holds a lot of heat. So it being hot in Texas, we can't sustainably have a garden all the time because it's just not in a good spot and it's too hot. So once we get our new garden going, then we'll be able to have more food more year round, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. Yeah, yeah. And Tell me about the wild crows. So I know anyone who follows you knows you've befriended these wild crows, but maybe for those who haven't, can you tell us how you kind of became friends with them and approached them?
Yes, so that was also an accident. I had seen a TikTok where a girl had given, put eggs out and then the crows started coming in her yard. And I was just sitting in the backyard one day or on the porch and there was a bunch of crows like flying around. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to put an egg out. And so I just made a video because I was like, if it works, like that'd be kind of cool to show, And so I put an egg out and within like an hour, they were in the yard like fighting over this egg. And I was like, I'm going to put some more eggs out. So then I took 3 more out and then they were like taking all the eggs. And so it's just, I don't know. People were like, oh my gosh, this is wild. And I was like, I'm going to see if I can make them my friend. And now I go outside and like, I call them, I call them, but I'll scream for, and they'll call back and stuff. And so I'm not to where I can like sit outside and they come to me or anything because I have like a job where I'm gone a lot. So once I can actually spend like more time and like, they know who I am though. Like when I pull up, like they fly around my truck and they come from the pond and stuff. And so it's kind of funny. And I have a camera out there.
Fun.
So like, that's where I'm getting a lot of my content from is I use the camera. And it's really funny to see their personalities because it's like the same 4 or 5 that come. And so like I've got them all named and they're like, I call them the besties.
That's so cute. And so you rescue a lot of animals too. I remember the other day you sent me a photo of some animals that you found. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, that's also by accident. So let me back up a few years. When we bought our property, we weren't living out here yet, and we found an abandoned cow on our property. So that's my pet cow now, Mama Cow. She was completely wild and like she looked like she was about to keel over, like just skin and bones. Terrible, right? Like living in the woods. And so we nursed her back to health and I befriended her. I mean, she used to bolt. If she would see anybody coming, she would run and hide. She was just terrified. And now like I can call her. She follows me around the yard. Like she gives me kisses. We built her a whole barn.
So cool.
I just keep getting like this menagerie of animals that find me. So I have Mama Cow. And 3 years ago, I checked my mail and there was a box of live fish in it. And somebody had accidentally mailed me shrimp, like pet shrimp. And so I still have, I was like, I'm not spending money on shrimp. And now I'm like $1,000 deep on the 3rd tank. And, I have like this whole tank of pet shrimp because they keep mating. And now there's like 100 of them in there. And then what I sent you the other day was possum. Something had taken out a possum in my yard the night before because I live in the country. And I went to move it because the buzzards were coming and it had like a bunch of little babies that had come out of its pouch. And so I, had to save the possum babies.
That is so cool. I love animals. So it's so fun to watch and just see. I feel like the animals that you have. So you're in the countryside of Texas, right?
Yes. So we're like east-ish, like southeast-ish by the coast.
Okay, cool. And then tell me about the DIY. What do you do with the glitter behind you?
So the glitter is for like cups and tumblers and pins. So I make like, here, let me grab one. So like snow globe tumblers, you can get them glass or plastic and then they have like glitter in them and then you can put a decal on them. And so like the glitter moves around. This one's really slow, so you don't really see it. But then I do like glitter pens and glitter tools and like office supplies and stuff like that. Just pretty much anything glitter. And then the DIY part, like we make doormats, signs, chunky blankets, candles. So this is like my back office right here where I work. And then on the other side of this wall is like the actual studio where the public can come. And so I can hold up to like 12 to 16 people. And we have like class and I teach you how to do
that. Is so fun. If I'm ever in Texas, I am coming. That's so awesome. Okay. I'm checking it out. And then tell us about when a GLP-1 came into the story. How did you decide to get on one? What was kind of the first moment where you were like, oh, maybe this is for me?
So I have PCOS, which I think a lot of people originate with their story with the GLP-1 with PCOS. I had to have a total hysterectomy, everything out when I was 34 because of the PCOS. And then I had some other like issues with some cancer things and whatnot. And so that led me to get the hysterectomy. But my doctor, it's like I could have had salad every day, all day, and I was still gaining weight. It's like my body held on to every piece of anything I put in it, no matter if it was good or bad. And so we just couldn't figure out really what was going on. And we finally went down like just a rabbit hole and figured out I had insulin resistance. And so this was the summer before the GLP-1 craze started. So it really happened like that fall when it took off on social media and then everybody wanted it and there was like a shortage and everything. So I was actually already on it for probably about 5 months for insulin resistance when the whole weight loss craze hit. And so I was just taking it. Like, I didn't know if it was going to work. So I wasn't really talking about it. And then about the time I figured out, like, yeah, it's working. Like, I feel good. The whole weight loss craze hit. And there was so much like stigma around the GLP-1 where, you were attacked if you were on it and didn't have diabetes, and you were taking medication from the people with diabetes. And, you're just taking shortcuts and you're lazy and you're fat. And it was just this, I don't know, it was like scary, And so when I first started talking about it, because when people started noticing like I was losing weight because I'd lost, a significant amount, I was like, well, they're asking. And I always said if they asked, I would talk about it, but I wasn't going to like come out and talk about it because I was kind of scared of getting attacked, online. Because by then I had, a few 100,000
Yeah.
followers, and I was like, I don't want people coming for me, like, for just trying to live my life. And so I started talking about it, and the response was good. There was some negativity there, and I got a lot of like, you're lazy, you're taking a shortcut, blah, 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 whatever. Like, just work out. And you know what? Like, I did that for 30 something years. Like, that didn't work for me. Like once I hit puberty, I was always very
Yeah.
skinny. And then once I hit puberty and the PCOS really kicked in and everything, it's just been like an upward, it just kept happening. It was gaining and gaining and gaining. It didn't matter what I did. And I wasn't, I didn't just sit around. Like, I'm very active on the farm and whatnot. So like how my body was reacting to just me living my life was not how it should work, And so when I got on the GLP-1 and like the GLP-1 is what I needed to make everything in my body work. And I was like, this is what you're supposed to feel like. Like it just had so many benefits.
Yeah.
Like the inflammation was gone. My brain started working better, because that was my biggest issue when I had my hysterectomy, is my brain quit working. It literally quit working. Like, I got on medication to try to help. Like, I got on Vyvanse because I do have ADHD, but I'm unmedicated because I don't like taking medication. So that's why it took me so
Yes.
long to get on the GLP-1, because my doctor wanted to put me on all kinds of stuff forever. And I just said no. And then finally I was like, I'm about to be 40. Like, I have to do something. And that's when I got on the GLP-1.
That makes
It's been
so much sense.
amazing. My doctor even said that she's now classified me as not having insulin resistance. She's classified me as having a metabolic disorder. And the metabolic disorder is I have a GLP-1 deficiency. Because once I started taking the GLP-1, I'm off all my other meds. It was like the key I needed to make my body work properly. So she said that they're actually
That is
seeing
so
this a lot
interesting.
more in people. I know, it's crazy, but she said they're seeing it a lot more in people. And they just never knew before because people weren't taking GLP-1s unless they had diabetes. And so now all these people are taking it, and they're getting off all these other medications they've been on their whole lives, or they're not drinking anymore, or they're off their depression meds, or there's just all these amazing benefits that they just never knew was going to happen before. And these medicines have been around for 20 something years. It's not something new.
Definitely. Yeah. Now, you said so many things that ring true. I think even just starting with the fact that you were like, oh, I'll try this. I don't know if it will work for me. Like, I'm also on a GLP-1. I had the same experience, and so many people who have had on the podcast, like, no one really thought it was going to work for them. So I
Well,
will
because
say,
we've tried
anyone
everything
listening to
else.
this who's
Yeah.
Yes, anyone who's listening to this, it will work for you. There's no rush, just give it time. Like, it will probably work for you.
Mm-hmm.
So that is number one. And number two, I love what you said about that misconception that like people just think, oh, you're lazy, you didn't try, you were active on the farm, you were doing everything. It's like many of us had been working out and it just wasn't working right for our bodies. So that's super important. You said so many things that, yeah, really, really made sense to me. And then I also wanted to talk a little bit about kidney stones, because I saw you made a TikTok about them recently that you were struggling with them. Can you explain a little bit about what they are and kind of your history with kidney stones?
Yeah, I got my first kidney stone in 2014, I think, and it was a big one. It was 7 millimeters by 5, and that for somebody, especially who hasn't had children, because your ureters, whatever they call them, the tube that goes from your bladder to your kidney, they're small, right? They're tiny. If you have children, there's some kind of hormone that gets released in your body that makes them loosen, and that's why people that have had children have to pee more, because their tubes are not as tight. But that's why if you've had
I did
children,
not
you
know
can pass.
that. That is so
Yeah, I learned quickly. So immediately that stone fell out of my kidney and got stuck. So I started having like back pain, and then I toughed it out for like 3 days because I just thought like, oh, I hurt my back, because I was working out on the farm, and I just thought I was, had a strain or something. And then when I started throwing up from the pain, I was like, maybe we should go to the hospital. And they were like, you have a giant kidney stone. I was like, so I had to have surgery for that one. And then pretty much every one I got after that, I had to have a surgery to remove it because my tubes were so tight, and I was getting them chronically. So I think a couple things were going on. We lived in the country, we lived somewhere else, and we had county water, and they had a lot of calcium in their water. So my stones are calcium. So I don't think that helped with like the stone formation and why I was getting them so often. But also I started parasite cleansing, And I haven't had hardly any stones since I've done that. And then when I got on the GLP-1 is when, I don't know if there's any kind of correlation, but between the parasite cleansing and the GLP-1, I haven't had them. I was having like 2 or 3 surgeries a year with the kidney stones for 10 years. And I haven't had any,
Wow.
but I got off my name brand pen and I got on compounded because I didn't have coverage on name brand pen and it was so expensive. And so I got on compounded and that's when I got the stones. So I do think that there's a difference between compounded and the name brand pens.
That's a really interesting discovery because I have been hearing some studies about our kidney stones sometimes being related to GLP-1 use. So I wanted to understand if any of those problems were related for you. But it seems like this was a problem you were having way before. But you're saying perhaps maybe the compound version also kind of egged it on to come back.
Yes.
That's interesting. I don't know. I mean, it is so expensive still to get these drugs. Of course, I think, the healthcare system in America is messed up and it should be included. So broken. And especially, I've been hearing so many people who had coverage and then their coverage got taken away once the healthcare or their insurance company kind of caught on to, weight loss medications and GLP-1s then. And then a kidney stone. So okay, that's very interesting. So you have to get a surgery to get it removed, or you drink a lot of water to pee it out is basically the 2 different ways?
Yes. So if they get stuck, they do the surgery. They don't want to do the surgery. They want you to obviously pass it on your own, but they're extremely painful. They're very, very pokey. So imagine like a giant stick of burr, going through your system. That's what it feels like. And so mine would always get stuck. I have only passed them probably 2 or 3 times on my own. Like I pretty much always have to have some kind of surgical intervention. And then sometimes they can just put a stent in, which is like a tube that they go in through your urethra and put it all the way up the tube. And so it opens it. And then when they take it out, it stretches that tube. And so when they take it out, the stone sometimes will fall down. Sometimes mine are calcium, so I can't get lithotripsy, which is like a machine they put on you and it pounds it and breaks them up. And then you can pass them. So if you have the acid ones, that works for that. But I have calcium ones, of course. So they typically have to go in with the scope has a little pincher on it and they can pull them out.
Okay, interesting. And what are the things that you should look out for if you think maybe you have a kidney stone? Well, I assume you will know because you'll be in so much pain, but you said it's like back pain that you feel?
Because I feel mine first in my back, up where your kidney is, and then you can feel it as it works its way down, and then the pain will shift to your front, almost like if you have PCOS and you've ever had a cyst, it'll shift up there, so it'll burn in your lower back, and then when it moves into your bladder, you'll feel that shift into the front part, the front lower part of your ear.
Okay, got it. And then going back to the GLP-1 and your experience on it, have you had any side effects?
So when I was the first few years that I was on it before I switched to compounded last year, I was constipated constantly. That was my biggest side effect. Of course, when you first started, sometimes I had nausea, as my body was adjusting to it. I did have that for probably the first year because I had to go up so fast in dose because I was only on 2.5 or 5 when the shortage, I think I was on 5 when the shortage started. And then I got boosted to 7 and then 10 and then 12.5 and 15 because I couldn't get my meds. So I ended up on 15 within a few months, which is not what I wanted to do. And so I stayed on 15 and then I got down to, I think 10 when I was when medicine came back. I didn't stay on 15 the whole time because I was I don't want to be on this high dose and then it stopped working and I don't have anywhere to go with it, But then I got on compounded.
Yeah. And is this
And
tirzepatide?
the compounded, for some reason, did not agree. I have to take hormone pellets because of the hysterectomy, and it did not agree with my hormone pellets. So I've actually gained weight. I've gained a little over 20 pounds while I was on the compounded because I changed my hormone pellet brand and they doubled my estrogen dose. So there was something that didn't work there, and I gained that weight within 3 weeks. So I don't know if it's all inflammation or if it's, there's definitely fat there, but I don't know what happened. So now I'm back on the pen. I'm paying for it, which is unfortunate. But it's worth it for the benefits because I do think the actual name brand pens work better. And, I'm going to get the weight back off and I'll be fine and all will be well.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Were there any solutions that you found to help with the constipation? I know some people take Miralax or Colace. What did you find that was helpful?
I do a stool softener, which I still do. You can take them both at night, but I just take one in the morning, one at night, just so it's stays constantly in my system. I drink a ton of water. And then I started taking Miralax when I got back on the actual shot. So when I came off the compounded and got back on the actual shot, but I did find my friend sells this. It's like a glutathione supplement that it's a drink that you take. And since I've been back on the shot, I've been taking that. And let me tell you what, it has saved my life. Like I wish I would have known about it years ago when I first started because I had so many issues with the constipation. And now I'm like, I am a happy at least twice a day girl.
That's a great.
Yeah.
Okay. What is it called? Do you remember? Do you remember
It's
the
called
name in case people want to check it out?
Yeah, it's Immunical, and I have it linked in my bio, but it's
Okay.
Immunical is the drink I take, and it's a glutathione supplement.
Okay, great. Yeah, no, I hear of so many people who deal with constipation on these drugs. So it's good to hear. I feel like everyone has something else that's worked for them, whether it's like Miralax or Colace or what you're saying.
Mhm.
This is a new thing. I haven't heard about this one. People I've heard of taking aloe vera pills. So there's so many different
I
things.
tried
And
that.
then
I bought
I've
like a
also
jug
been
of aloe
hearing about,
vera.
oh, did that work for you? I haven't tried that.
It'll work in a way you don't want it to work, like too much.
And then I also heard of the opposite. Some people who deal with like more diarrhea side effects from GLP-1s, which is also kind of interesting. When you started a GLP-1, where did you go for like support? Did you go to like a Facebook group or Reddit, or were people posting on TikTok at the time? Because
TikTok.
this was years ago. You were okay.
Yeah. So when I first started, like there wasn't really anybody talking about it because nobody was on it for weight loss yet. So it was just like kind of troubleshooting on the internet or asking my doctor. And then when it took off on TikTok, you just, got on TikTok and looked, and people had pages that were dedicated to GLP-1s and the journey they were on and stuff. And then all of a sudden TikTok was like, nope, we're not doing this. And they shut down like thousands of people's pages. People lost, and people that had huge followings too. And they just took their pages away. They didn't say like, hey, we're not talking about this anymore, or you need to change how you say things or whatever. Like they woke up in the morning and their accounts were gone for talking about losing
Yeah.
weight. And like they've really cracked down on it
That's
now
a
as well.
problem that
But
I'm
that
seeing.
was,
Yeah. No, it's interesting because I'm seeing that problem now too. They're really shadow banning people who are talking about GLP-1s, and not like people who are just like encouraging weight loss, but people who are talking about what you're talking about, like for using it for PCOS or insulin or other things like that. And I find like TikTok is where I go also for information and like community support. So it kind of sucks, you can't really find as much out there anymore, but
yeah, I
hopefully
keep getting in
they'll
trouble
figure that
on
out.
my
So.
I keep getting in trouble. Like you can't even say GLP-1 anymore. You have to say like, the P of the G or, come up with something cryptic, but they're figuring
Yeah.
out what people are saying and then they ban those words too. So I don't even post about it on TikTok anymore. I just post about it on Instagram if, people ask. And then it's not really even something I'm talking about anymore. It's just if people ask because I keep getting in trouble for it. Like right
Yeah.
now I'm shadow banned and I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure that's why, because I got a violation on my last video that I talked about it.
Really? Okay,
Yeah.
that's interesting. And then has like what you've been eating, like have you had any food aversions, or has your diet kind of stayed normal since being on a GLP-1, or how has your diet changed?
I wouldn't say that I've had aversions, but I'll be to where I'll be eating and I'm like, I'm done. Like I'll physically have to like sometimes spit out what's in my mouth because I'm like, if I swallow this, I'm gonna barf. So not
Yeah.
necessarily like, oh God, I can't eat that, or oh, that smells bad, but I'll just like, even my favorite meal, I'll just be eating and I'll be like, nope, we're done here. Like when you're done, you're done.
Yes, I will say that's what happens. You just get fuller like way sooner,
Mm.
and you just like you stop eating, which I guess is why you lose weight because you eat less smaller portions. Do you find that you have different like cravings? Like I find like I don't crave dessert as much and sugar at night after I eat a meal. How about you?
Same. I don't crave I didn't really have a lot of cravings before. I think I was more of like a salty craving or maybe like ice cream sometimes, but I don't crave any of
Okay.
that anymore. Like I wasn't a big soda drinker before, but I just drink water. I've gotten back on coffee and I don't know why. I was off coffee for a long time because coffee actually does not help you lose weight. And so I was off of it for a long time. But then when I got on the compounded, for some reason, like the compounded just for me does not work as well. And people say like, oh, you had these great results. You lost all this weight. I tried it for a month and it didn't work for me, but they got compounded. And I'm like, if you got on the regular pen for a month, like you would have a different experience. Like, yes, it's more expensive, but you would have a different experience because I had more cravings, and like that's why I'm back on coffee, I think, because I like the taste of coffee. And before I was like, I didn't really miss it. And now I'm like, trying to get back off of it. So I was like 2 coffees a day and now I'm down to 1. So I'm weaning myself off.
Yeah. No, it's so interesting. I haven't tried a compound version. I know somebody who is on one, but I haven't heard much about their experience with it. I do the one where I get it from Eli Lilly direct. So it's not the actual pen, but I think it's the real stuff. You just have to do the injection yourself or load up the pen or the shot yourself. Do you eat out mostly, or do you cook a lot at home
I
in
cook at
terms of
home.
food? Okay. That is number one. I found that since being on a GLP-1, I cook a lot more at home because I don't crave, I don't know, I used to love, for example, like Shake Shack or like getting a burger or something. Whereas like now I'm just like, I need to eat. So I just eat. What does kind of your routine look like in terms of like protein and fiber? Have you been prioritizing that a lot in your diet?
I do. So I know people don't like protein shakes per se as like, a supplement to your diet, but protein shakes are very easy, especially they'll give you a lot of protein for somebody who is on a GLP-1, especially when you first start and that hunger is just not there. Like you're going to have to really probably force yourself to eat sometimes. And a protein shake is just what works because it doesn't upset your stomach and it's a lot of protein quickly. Because when
Definitely.
the GLP-1, it's not just that you're not hungry. It's like you physically can't eat because it will make you sick. And that's back to like
Yeah.
sometimes you get to that bite and you're like, you just got to spit it out because that's going to be the one that tips you over, And then the cravings and stuff, the drinking, I definitely don't care to drink. And drinking will actually make me sick sometimes, not because I've drank so much. It's just because my stomach doesn't process it as fast. So before you go and have a margarita, now I'm like, if that sits in my stomach, it's going to make me sick.
Yeah, that makes sense. And have you dealt with hair loss at all? I saw a lot of people on TikTok who've been losing or having hair shedding.
Yes. So not now that my weight has like stabilized, I'm not losing really rapidly anymore like when I first started. But when I first started, definitely hair loss. There was a lot of thinning. Like my hair used to be a lot thicker. And I'm taking like supplements now and I'm not having like the rapid weight loss now. So it's not falling out. But yeah, definitely hair
So
loss.
for someone who's just starting a GLP-1, what would like your one big piece of advice be?
Well, do your research, of course. A GLP-1 is not for everybody. And I also have a lot of friends that get on the compounded and they're like, oh, it makes me sick. And I'm like, well, how are you taking it? And they're like, well, I'll take it 1 week and then, I'll take it 3 weeks later. Like I just take it when I remember. And I'm like, that's why it's making you sick. Like if you're going to take it, they tell you to take it every 7 days for a reason. Because if it tapers off too far, especially if you're on more than just the starting dose, it's going to make you sick every single time. So then you don't want to take it. You have an
Yeah.
aversion to taking it because you're sick all the time, but you're not taking it as instructed. That's why. Like it's not the people I think that just want to use it for weight loss, that's fine. If that's what you want to use, that's your tool. But for people like me where it affects how their body actually works because we have other disorders. Like I have Hashimoto's, I have PCOS, I had to have the hysterectomy. Like I have a lot of different things going on and that makes my body actually work. So I don't know how to make that make sense, but to take it for an actual medical need versus just a weight loss, I think you're going to feel different things. You're going to have different results and the feeling is going to be that your body actually works. You know what I mean?
No, definitely. And you're mentioning that some of your friends are on it as well. And how did that conversation come up with them? Because I know a lot of people have trouble talking about it with their friends, but I find personally, once I opened the conversation that I was on one, you hear more and more people are on it. And then you can have like more support around you. Were your friends open about it or?
50-50. Like I said, I don't really just like bring it up. If people want to talk about it, like I'm an open book. I talk about it on social media. So like obviously I'm open to talking about it. So I've had a lot of people get on it to try it because they're like, look at Lacey's results. Like she did so well. But then also the people that are like, you shouldn't take that when they're on like 19 other prescription medicines, like what's the difference?
Definitely. That's what I think of it. I'm like, okay, a lot of people are on anti-anxiety or depression meds, which helps so much for, that. Then what is the difference in a way? But I think because it's so new, as you were saying, there's so much backlash. And I guess I have two more questions. And I think one of them is you are someone with a social media following. When you started a GLP-1, you were very much on social and involved in TikTok. There's so much every day. I see like a new, news of like Ozempic ear, Ozempic face, and all this kind of negativity and some that is very fake. How did you deal with all of that kind of like fake news and rumors on seeing them on social while still being like, this is the drug that is helping my body and trusting that process?
Well, obviously, back to do your research. I knew what was real, what was not real. Like I've read the research. I'm not just going to go put something in my body. Like I don't even like taking Advil or Tylenol. So I'm not just going to go and put something in my body that is going to potentially affect the way I live the rest of my life. So I could tell. And there's a lot of AI out there too. So it's like hard to tell, like, oh, is that really somebody that said that? Or is that a doctor? Or is that this? So the people that don't take the time to look into it, you know what I mean? Like they're going to be influenced by that. And you get those negative comments from, people on social media, and they see that you're losing weight, or a video, especially a video of you talking about it, or God forbid, a video of you doing your shot. Like I get so much backlash. Why do you feel like you got to put that in your video? I'm like, it's a day in the life video. Like it's part of my day. If it's a day where I'm taking my shot, like you're going to get a 1-second clip of that. You know what I mean? Like it was a 1-second clip, and that's what you're focusing on. I don't know. Like live your life, just do your research. Figure out what's good for you and go with it.
Yes, 100%. I love your videos where you're like, my husband asks what I do all day. And so I'm making this like vlog to show him what I do. And then recently you said your husband made you get a job. What is that job that you were they were talking about?
So my whole day in the life thing is like, I'm a farm wife, right? Like I have my DIY studio, but I'm a farm wife. This is by appointment only. I don't have retail hours. So like I'm very flexible in my schedule. And so my tagline for my videos is my husband keeps asking me what I do all day. So I made this video to show to him or to forward to him, which is true. He does come home and ask, but like not in a malicious way. So then I get all this hate like, oh my God, you have a horrible husband. And I don't. He's my unicorn. Like I have an amazing husband. We've been together 21 years. Like he's great, but he's very busy at work. He's gone 14 hours a day. And so like we don't talk during the day unless there's like a real need, So he comes home and it's dark. He's like, well, what'd you do today? Like, it's not like he's being mean or like you should have done more. And so it's funny because I said it once in a video and like people loved it or they hated it. So I was like, it just kind of stuck. And so that's like what I open with. So he works at a business he's been at almost 30 years. And I used to work there actually like 100 years ago. And they asked me to come back and help him do some stuff. So I just ride to work with him 2 or 3 days a week. And so if I go 3 days a week, I've worked like 36 hours in 3 days. So it's like a full-time job, but in 3 days. So I still get 4 days off to do what I need to do at the farm and do here at the studio.
That's great. And is that where you and your husband met at the job?
No, we had already been together 3 years when I went over there. Their business actually burned down, and I went over there and handled the insurance claim and all of that. So the videos I've been making where I said he downgraded my trophy wife status and made me get a job, that's the joke, because now I'm not just mostly stay-at-home farm wife is what I've always said. And so now he's downgraded my trophy wife status.
That is so good. I love that. And have you always thought that you were going to live on a farm? Did you grow up on a farm, or is this new?
We both grew up in the country. I ended up in the city. He still lived in the country, but, was close to Houston. And so I always knew I wanted to be back on land. I didn't necessarily know it would be like a farm, but he always knew that he wanted to be back on more land again after he got out of college and everything, and his family farm was sold.
That's amazing. And where can people follow Heritage House Homestead if they don't follow you already? Tell us all like the social channels. And I will say for anyone who doesn't follow you, you definitely should. You're always up to something interesting. So I love it.
My life is life. And let me tell you what, like some weird things happen to me and I just happen to put them on social media. But it's Heritage House Homestead on all the platforms. So I'm on YouTube, which I don't cross post much to YouTube. I need to do better there. But TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, it's all Heritage House Homestead. And then my business is Country Girl Customs TX.
Okay, perfect. I will say go follow. It is so different, as I said, of me living in a city. And I love seeing your videos. Even just texting the past few days, you're like, I got to go cross whatever. And I'm like, you do you, girl.
And I'm like,
it's
I
so
feel
different.
so bad. I'm like, we are never going to meet. But then, and the other part about is it like people say, like, what's your platform about? Like, because people have their niches. And I'm like, I'm my niche. Like I have ADHD. So I have like, you just never know what you're going to get into. Like the ADD is the DN, and like there's a little autism thrown in, and then just the randomness of the animals that find me and just the weird stuff. And it's just a menagerie of everything.
Yes. And I love it. And I think you have like that in your bio that you don't have a niche. Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's so true because you're just showing, you just pick up your phone and you're just showing you doing you. And I think that's really why people want to follow you, because it's so authentic, where you're not like sitting down with the full script being like, this is that. So it's awesome.
Brand ever contacts me and they're like, we want to work with you. I'm like, I don't do scripts. They're like, this is what we want to know. If I don't use it and I can't talk about it how I want to, I'm not doing it.
I love that. Well, thank you so much. This has been so awesome. I haven't had someone like this on the podcast and to share their GLP-1 journey too. So I know it's going to help someone and inspire them. So thank you.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And if you don't follow us already on TikTok and Instagram, go ahead and follow Metabolism Diaries. Also, for those who don't already know, if you're on a GLP-1, I'm launching a multivitamin drink mix with electrolytes that's doctor developed, zero sugar, this fall. You can join our waitlist to receive a special discount, galloplife.com, and that's GALOPLIFE.com. Gallop with one L. See you guys next time.